Okay. But
So
still got the talent, I assume, even after all the injuries is had over the last 5 years or so.
from the limited amount I've seen of him, because obviously I tend to watch more of the Pro 14, the Celtic competition.
Okay.
So I don't see that much of the Premiership, but I think he's still quite well regarded, and I think he would do a job for someone. Don't know necessarily who or
Wolfpack.
what player. Well, there we go. They're probably going to need some players after the weekend, aren't they?
Yeah, and to my knowledge, Eastman doesn't have a discipline problem, which might be a nice cultural shift for them over there.
If he doesn't now, he soon will.
Anyway, that is the news from around the world of rugby league, well and truly covered. If you've got any views on any of those news stories that we haven't quite covered for you, and you want to air those, get them in for the feedback and shout outs section of next week's show. And otherwise, we're going to move on to match reviews, which this week come from the Challenge Cup. Match reviews sponsored by Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. Find a wide range of toys, gifts, rugby league birthday cards and more at Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. Visit stores.ebay.co.uk/Rob's Toy Shop, and on any orders over £5 you can earn 5% cash back, and also 1% of your order value will go into the SLP coffers if you put SLP discount at checkout. And we've had a few little payments through recently from Rob's
Excellent.
Toy Shop, so things are going well there. So make sure you do keep using that there. There's tons of stuff. Just follow them on Twitter, and you'll see the posts that they put up. A wide range of stuff. It's not just kids' toys. There's pets' toys and all that sort of stuff. So do support our sponsors there. Okay, challenge.
I do need to get a birthday card for a small child actually, so I need to remember to do that. There we go.
I probably need to get some for adults. Maybe I'll buy some for adults too. Okay, Challenge Cup round 6 it was, Tim, and it all kicked off in more ways than one.
Didn't it just?
On Thursday night, Featherstone hosted their obligatory Challenge Cup tie.
They have to host at least one in every round. More of that later.
I think we're going to have a viewing party for the Challenge Cup final at Featherstone as well at this rate. They're going to be petitioning for a replay to be brought back into the Challenge Cup so they could
if there is a replay needed, that's where it'll be.
Without a doubt. Anyway, it finished Featherstone 20, Hull FC. Oh, I've missed a joke then. I've missed it. It finished Featherstone 13, Hull FC 10, didn't I? 9.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, it was Featherstone 20, Hull FC 38. After it being 30-10 at half-time, so the championship side won the second half by 10 points to 8. It was in front of 3,222. Scott Michalauskas was the referee, and I'm sure he will come up at some point.
Yes, so we've got plenty of feedback on this one, as you'd expect, being a Thursday night game. And
Thursday night games are killing the
points.
sport, mate. What are you on about?
Well, nobody watches them. Nobody watches them. No one enjoys them. First few coming from John Hamilton. The end of that match reminded me of playing in a pub league match against East Leeds Working Men's Club about 20 years ago. That Luke Burgess did well for Fev,
though. Obviously, the Hull FC coach, Lee Radford, picked up on John Hamilton's comments and totally ripped them off in the post-match press conference. Mark Double, you said, Radford was right to apologise for that. Embarrassing display for the sport. Two teams with total lack of discipline, and of course, all the fans blame the ref. If he gives 6 cards and the players still act like idiots, what more can he do?
Quite. Alan Cale, Shoddy and Mungo. Both teams completely lost their minds during the second half. Some frankly pathetic behaviour on both sides. Ref did what he had to do with the cards, but the game was ruined as a spectacle. This isn't what the game should be about, and both coaches should be making that clear to their players. I'm just guessing that Lee Radford did make that quite clear to his players. Just a vibe I picked up on.
Alan Witts said, balls to being a ref. The players are to blame for that card fest. The Missy challenge deserved a card, but the young ref must have been given guidance from the more experienced video ref. On a number of occasions, he asked the captains to talk to their players, or else they ignored him as usual, and he took action. All correct. It was like when you had a substitute teacher at school, the class would take the piss. No respect.
Yep, Paul O'Brien, POB 1976. Referee himself said, not a classic, but Hull would be glad to have gotten through that. 3 injuries that Hull could do without. Thought all the cards by the referee were right calls, even the red at the end, but feel that the Rovers player should have been sent off for his early hit. For the ref to say mistimed was an understatement. He never looked at the ball and deliberately took the player. I agree entirely on this one. And I think, to be honest, had that been a red card, it would have calmed the game down a bit, and it probably wouldn't have been quite... I think there still would have been at least 2 more cards.
I think you're underestimating what was going on, because by that point Scott Wheeldon was already cruising for having a fight with someone, and then Gareth Hock came on, and that's before you take into account Jake Connor's relentless lip. So I do think it would have, put a marker down, and I think it should have been.
I think it would have just taken a step. Yeah, I think it would have taken a step back, and it would have just calmed things down a little bit. But as you say, the Jake Connor versus Gareth Hock, there was only going to be one winner, and that was the fines pot at Red Hall.
I haven't actually seen any disciplinary stuff come out yet.
Hock has got 1 game. I saw that flash up just before we started recording.
Okay.
I will. Here we go. Someone else has been given a 2-game ban, but it's just disappeared from the screen.
We'll cover all that off later. The one thing I do want to say about that challenge, though, is it made me think of the Office linebacker, just the coming completely out of nowhere kind of hit. What was it? Terry something or other.
Terry Tate.
Terry Tate. That's it. Yeah.
Here we go. Tom, there can be only one dad crook. Well, you're not the Highlander.
I think it's my turn, isn't it?
It is.
He said, quick one whilst Emma's doing her hair. I can't speak after that bell ringer from Missy. The game was always going to spiral down after that. I agree with whatever Joshy McKenzie says. #real injury crisis now.
There we go. And another Tom, presumably Tom Eckley, said, clearly the RFL are continuing to stop Hull winning the league, Cup, World Cup and World Peace Prize in the world's greatest sporting conspiracy.
Rich Langley said, job done, albeit coming at a heavy cost. Getting dragged into a scrap, literally, was not what we wanted to do. Don't like ref's fault, but got to think if Missy had been carded, it could have helped calm the game down. I'm not sure the game was out of control at that point, though. Though there is no excuse for some of Hull's brain farts, which could cost them at Magic, and no arguing the injury crisis now. Time for some of the squad players to step up. Completely agree on the injury crisis front. You guys are screwed, Langers.
Yeah, well, there was talk of a reinforcement coming over the hill, wasn't there? Kurt Yeaman potentially coming out of retirement.
Yeah, interesting, that one.
Yeah, because it's a couple of years. It's not just like he's last year retired. It's a couple of years retired. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get himself back to... But a rumour that he was actually training Thursday and Friday, ready to drop back in if needed. So it seems like he might well be on his way. RL Latest says, I've made no hiding my opinion on this. Players must also be held responsible for the actions for this game. However, lots of fans, I must admit, enjoyed the game. I'm a big fan of the Biff, first being MW Wigan versus Saints.
Magic Weekend.
Magic Weekend. But
he wrote a piece for Love Rugby League where he's doing a bit of a internship, did Josh, who runs the RL Latest account, which covers all of this sort of stuff in more detail. But yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, but 1 per game is enough for me. Apology from Radford confirmed it all. Both referee and players to blame. Hull FC in an injury and now suspension crisis for Magic Weekend now.
Sarah says, great first few minutes, saw us go 18-0 up. Hock and his thuggery kicked in just before half-time, and stupidly we got drawn into it. By 60 minutes, I was desperate for full-time to arrive. Injuries, once again, have hit key players. It'll be interesting to see who plays at the weekend.
Yep, angry fan says the player meltdown was clearly the ref's fault for not sin-binning Talapapa, and if he'd pulled out a card, all the players would have learned an important lesson about kindness and friendship, and none of the dirty shots from the first 50 minutes would have happened. But without a card, it was clear to both sides that the dickheadery of highest order was the only path.
Totally. Joshua's granddad said, 35 minutes of enjoyable rugby. Fev showed how good they are with ball in hand. Then Hock resorted to his shit-house thuggery, which set the tone for the rest of the match. No problem from Mickey Mouse. No card for early tackle setting precedent for assault on fullbacks. No protection from Mickey Mouse, he said, sorry, for assault on fullbacks for weeks to come. I don't think that's true. Joshua's granddad, John, has exaggerated things there. Barreto deserved his red, but given the previous 17 minutes, will feel hard done by. He should not feel hard done by in any way, shape, or form. That was a direct assault of a swinging arm to a prone player's head. It was disgusting and deserves a red card, and he should be out for a month.
And it was just needless.
Totally.
You got the game won. There's no advantage going to come from that. Because sometimes when you throw a punch in to slow the game down, to bring the attention back, to get the blood pumping, that was just nothing was going to come of that other than a disciplinary.
And
that was the only thing that was going to happen. And at the point in the game, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, shall we talk about some rugby before we talk about more? There was
some rugby. Yes, let's not forget that.
Luke Briscoe scoring the try. That he was so giddy when he got that ball for the record equaling try, the 17 games in a row, that I thought he was going to fuck it up.
I did as well. And you saw him bouncing about afterwards as well, and he looked a bit uncertain. He's like, have I just dropped that?
He was so giddy when he got the ball and saw the space.
Yeah. And one thing that I didn't like was Featherstone playing. I wish I was a little bit taller as Bowden was being carried off. I don't know if you clocked that.
I picked up on there being a lot of music for the sin binnings and stuff, but I didn't pick up anything for Bowden's injury. But that looks like a serious one, and that's a shame because they just can't hack these extra injuries. I mean, there's another injury. Talanoa looks like he might be out a few weeks as well. Bowden could be gone the year. Nasty stuff.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, in terms of just the on the field, Fev just looked like they came out and they almost looked like they possibly were over pumped up because they just seemed to choke that first 15 minutes, and it just set them back, and then they kind of almost were playing catch up with themselves.
And I think this feeds into the physicality aspect of it too, because when they were actually playing rugby in the first 15 minutes, Hull dominated physically in the normal sphere of the game in terms of they were breaking tackles very easily. They were doing
the line speed. The line speed was good. They were coming up as a unit and hitting them.
Exactly, both in attack and defence, they were dominating the collisions, and it gave them that easy early lead. And he thought it was going to be a procession there. And I think at that stage it switched on some of the Fev front rowers, and then Gareth Hock came off the bench. And I'm not saying Gareth Hock was untowardly physical in the early goings of it. He was just, normal physical, I think. There was the odd high shot that caught someone, but that was going on both ways. It goes on in every single game, and I don't think they were necessarily targeting. I just think he's got a bad tackle technique built up over years of not giving a shit if he hits the head or the chest, really, rather than him deliberately going out to do it. But yeah, and I think that's what Fev did to respond to the fact that they were getting physically beaten in the context of the rugby being played. Josh Griffin was great in that period, Sika Manu was great in that period, and Jake Connor capitalised on all of that.
And the try that Griffin scored, it was like he was a coach playing with a bunch of 10-year-olds hanging off him, wasn't it? He just sort of was just pushing on through, and he was getting that, but you just knew that ball was going down. You saw him, he was quite a distance out, but you just knew that ball was going to end up over the line, and he was just determined. It was from the legs. It was all a leg drive, and it was where he's coming. But he did really well, I thought, and again playing well. But I think
he's lucky if he's escaped out, because him and Hock traded clear blows to each other's heads at the end, which the officials did miss because they were so busy sorting out Faremo, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a few that sort of dropped by the wayside.
Could have been 9 cards rather than just the 7.
Well, what is the? It's 8 players, isn't it? Where it's abandoned.
Well, apparently it's 8 players from one side.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got 5 or fewer, I think, is where it comes in. It might be 4. I think it's 5. But either way,
I thought it was 8. I thought it was 8 on the pitch. You had to have 8 on.
Oh no! Gareth Walker threw up a tweet with an excerpt from the rule books. I'm pretty sure it's 5.
Okay.
It's in Josh's piece on Love Rugby League anyway, if you want to check that out. Or our latest Josh's piece, not Joshua
Mackenzie.
Mackenzie.
Who we didn't get a review from. I presume he's just crying over his drop chips still.
Yeah.